As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an eerie glow across the snow-covered forests of northern Minnesota, a group of friends set out for what they hoped would be a weekend of bonding and adventure. With winter fully upon them, they were excited to spend some quality time in a rustic cabin, away from the demands of modern life. The group, 3 friends, Sarah, Jake, and Emily, arrived at the cabin late Friday evening. After settling in and lighting a warm fire, they shared stories of their childhood and ghost tales they'd heard growing up. When the subject of the Wendigo arose, they laughed it off, dismissing it as mere folklore. It was a thrilling tale, nothing more than a story meant to entertain and frighten. But as the temperature outside plummeted, an unsettling chill crept through the cabin. The first night passed uneventfully, but as the dawn broke, Emily noticed something disturbing. There were fresh tracks outside the cabin that led onto the frozen lake. To her, they appeared unusually large and clawed, unlike anything she'd seen before. "Guys, look at this," she called out. Jake brushed it off, but Sarah's curiosity got the best of her. "Let's follow them," she suggested. The 3 ventured outside, their laughter echoing amidst the stark white landscape, the chill air biting at their cheeks. As they followed the tracks, they soon discovered they led nowhere, just into the dense woods, disappearing into the brush. That evening, they decided to turn in early, wanting to shake off the unease from the day. But in the dead of night, Sarah woke to an unsettling sound, a low growl echoing from outside the cabin. She looked at the clock, it was 3 a.m. The sound persisted, growing closer. Could it be a bear? Her heart racing, she gently shook Jake awake. "Do you hear that?" she whispered. Before he could reply, the growl grew more pronounced, accompanied by a series of bizarre, horrifying shrieks. They sprang out of bed, rushing to the window. As they peered outside, their eyes widened in terror. A tall, emaciated figure stood between the trees, its body covered in matted, frost-bitten fur. Its eyes glowed with a predatory hunger. This is the story of the Wendigo. Wendigo is a mythological creature, or evil spirit originating from Algonquian folklore, mostly along the Atlantic coast of the United States and Canada. The Wendigo is often said to be a malevolent spirit, sometimes depicted as a creature with human-like characteristics, which possesses human beings. It is said to cause its victims a feeling of insatiable hunger, the desire to eat other humans, and the propensity to commit murder. In some representations, the Wendigo is described as a giant humanoid with a heart of ice, whose approach is signaled by a foul stench or sudden unseasonable chill. The Wendigo myth primarily originates from Algonquin-speaking tribes, including the Ojibwe, Saulteaux, Cree, Naskapi, and Innu peoples. Traditionally, the Wendigo is seen as a spirit that possesses humans and transforms them into a monstrous entity. While various cultures have different interpretations, common themes include the Wendigo being a manifestation of winter, famine, and the unnatural desire for human flesh. They were strongly associated with winter, the north, coldness, famine, and starvation. Descriptions of the Wendigo vary widely, but it is often depicted as gaunt, towering, and emaciated, with an insatiable hunger. Some accounts describe it as having glowing eyes, long fingers, and an overall skeletal frame that evokes fear. Its appearance symbolizes not just physical starvation but also metaphysical decay, an entity so consumed by its own desires that it can no longer exist in its original form. Sometimes, the Wendigo, described as extremely thin, almost emaciated, with its dried-out skin tautly covering its bones, and appeared as if it had just been unearthed from the grave, with its bones protruding against its skin, its complexion the ash-gray of death, and its eyes pushed back deep into their sockets. What lips it had were bloody and tattered. Also, filthy, and it also smelled strange and unsettling, like death and corruption. In Ojibwe, Eastern Cree, West Main Swampy Cree, Naskapi, and Innu lore, Wendigos are often described as giants that are many times larger than human beings, a characteristic absent from myths in other Algonquian cultures. Whenever a Wendigo ate another person, it would grow in proportion to the meal it had just eaten, so it could never be full. Therefore, Wendigos are portrayed as simultaneously gluttonous and extremely thin due to starvation. Some accounts describe the Wendigo as either completely devoid of fur or covered in snow-white fur that is often matted and stained with blood. It is said to have gruesome features, including a mouth filled with sharp yellow fangs, and its hands and feet end in lethal, razor-sharp talons. Its twisted lips are speckled with blood, and its tongue is a repulsive dark blue. Occasionally, the Wendigo is portrayed as mostly humanoid, resembling a corpse, with a head similar to that of a stag, complete with antlers. The Wendigo is seen as the embodiment of gluttony, greed, and excess. Never satisfied after killing and consuming one person, they are constantly searching for new victims. Sometimes, humans overpowered by greed could turn into Wendigos. The myth thus served as a method of encouraging cooperation and moderation. Other sources say Wendigos were created when a human resorted to cannibalism to survive. Humans could also turn into Wendigos by being in contact with them for too long. Additionally, the Wendigo is frequently associated with the cold winds of winter and desolation, amplifying its eerie presence in the frozen landscapes of its native regions. The creature is said to emit a chilling howl that echoes through the forest, inducing terror in those who hear it. Among the Assiniboine, the Cree, and the Ojibwe, a satirical ceremonial dance is sometimes performed during times of famine to reinforce the seriousness of the Wendigo. The last known Wendigo ceremony conducted in the United States was at Lake Wendigo of Star Island of Cass Lake, within the Leech Lake Indian Reservation in northern Minnesota. In modern psychiatry, the disorder known as Wendigo psychosis is characterized by symptoms such as an intense craving for human flesh and fear of becoming a cannibal. Although in many recorded cases of Wendigo psychosis the individual has been killed to prevent cannibalism from resulting, some Cree folklore recommends treatment by ingestion of fatty animal meats or drinking animal grease. Those treated may sometimes vomit ice as part of the curing process. One of the more famous cases of Wendigo psychosis reported involved a Plains Cree trapper from Alberta, named Swift Runner. During the winter of 1878, Swift Runner and his family were starving, and his eldest son died. 25 miles away from emergency food supplies at a Hudson's Bay Company post, Swift Runner butchered and ate his wife and 5 remaining children. Given that he resorted to cannibalism so near to food supplies, and that he killed and consumed the remains of all those present, it was revealed that Swift Runner's was not a case of pure cannibalism as a last resort to avoid starvation, but rather of a man with Wendigo psychosis. He eventually confessed and was executed by authorities at Fort Saskatchewan. Another well-known case involving Wendigo psychosis was that of Jack Fiddler, an Ojibwe Cree chief and medicine man known for his powers at defeating Wendigos. In some cases, this entailed killing people with Wendigo psychosis. As a result, in 1907, Fiddler and his brother Joseph were arrested by the Canadian authorities for homicide. Jack committed suicide, but Joseph was tried and sentenced to life in prison. He ultimately was granted a pardon but died 3 days later in jail, before receiving the news of this pardon. Another infamous case is that of the 1600s when a man named Glooskap supposedly transformed into a Wendigo out of desperation and gluttony, bringing terror to the surrounding tribes. These stories, while steeped in the supernatural, reflect the fundamental human fears related to survival, morality, and the darkness that can reside within us. The Wendigo stands as a powerful symbol of the human psyche, reflecting fears, moral dilemmas, and cultural values that resonate through generations. This haunting figure reminds us of the thin line between humanity and monstrosity, and the dangers of allowing greed and desperation to overpower our innate desire for community and compassion. While the stories told about the Wendigo may vary, at its core lies a universal truth, a warning that echoes through the forests of folklore, urging us to remember our humanity, especially in trying times. So that's all we got about the Wendigo, and thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please hit the like button. If you want to see more videos, hit the subscribe button, and if you have something to say, please leave a comment.